Okay, this is code 312001. There is an extensive amount of work with these, so it might take a little longer. It looks like this at the start. You get an equation that is not in standard form. You eventually have to have a graph of the final product. So I'm going to open this up and show you what we do here. So remember, standard form is y equals mx plus b. M stands for the slope or the angle of the line. When you see the line going like that or like that, that is called the slope. The B stands for the y-intercept. That's where it crosses at the x at the y. So wherever the line would cross a y-axis. Okay, this is your x. So wherever it would cross is the y-intercept. So this was the problem we saw on the screen. Negative 25x plus 6y equals 1500. The first thing you need to do is to put it in this form by manipulating, using your skills, watching your signs. So negative 25x, I'm going to add 25x to both sides. I want to rewrite it so my x is first, just like this. So I end up with 6y equals 25x plus 1500. Okay, in order to isolate my y, this is multiplying here, so I divide by 6. They essentially become 1, and 1 times y is y. And then I just set this up the same way. I divide both numbers by 6. 25 divided by 6, I could leave it like this. I could put it in a different form, but this is easy enough. 1500 divided by 6 is 250. So now I've got this in slope-intercept form, standard form. Y equals 25 sixths x plus 250. Y-intercept, slope. So now, the next thing I need to do in order to work towards graphing it is I have to find out some points. So I think to myself, when x is blank, y is what? We want to try to use zeros when we can. They're easy to graph. They're right on the axis. So when x is 0, so if I come to this equation right here and I substitute in 0 right there, 25 times 0, 25 6 times 0 is 0. So the only thing when I move this over, minus 25, minus 25, 250, I'm sorry, when I minus 250 from both sides, I find that when x is 0, y is negative 250. Okay, and I once I make this 0, I'm sorry, y is 250, not negative 250, because this comes out to 0 plus 250, and that equals 250. So this is one set of points, 0, 250, which I will graph later and I'll show it to you. All right, then I'm going to do the same thing. When y is 0, I'm going to try to solve for that. So I have to come down here, substitute in 0, and you can see how I move things around. I want to get x by itself now. So I subtracted or added negative 250, added negative 250. This is what I was confusing with up above. So now that I have 25 sixths x equals negative 250, in order to get x by itself, this is being multiplied by x, so I'm going to divide by 25 sixths. I'm going to come over here, negative 250 divided by 25 over 6, do the same thing to both sides. I set it up here. You could do it manually if you wanted to. I just use my calculator, but manually you would get the same answer of negative 60. So that means when y is 0, x is negative 60. When y is 0, x is negative 60. Remember, I substituted in 0 for y. I was getting x by itself. And right here, x is equal to negative 60. So I can substitute that in. Now that I have 2 points, I've followed that process. I'm going to come up here to the problem. Now, we have a couple things. We want to leave this at a line. Problem here is when I have the points 0 to 50, they don't fit on here. 0 does, but they don't. So I've got to change my axis. So my 10, I'm going to go by 20s on my x-axis, and I'm going to go by hundreds on I'm going to go by 50s on my y-axis. Maybe, let's see how that looks. So 60 is going to be right here. So 0 to 50. If I come here, 0, 250 and put a dot right there. Then I'm going to come down here and plot negative 60, 0. So that's right here, negative 60, 0. Oh, I got to do a check here on this. Then I come here and I plot that, and it puts the line on there. And that is the line of this graph. If I check it, I'm good to go. So just want to look at their answer key. They had their slope, they had their scales by 10s here, by 50s there. So as long as you can get these points on, you're okay. Okay, the second kind, they give you an equation with a table, and you can see right here the equation is 5x plus 2y equals negative 200. So I'm going to pull up and show you how we're going to solve this. So they gave us a table. So I always want to try zeros. When I take 0 and substitute it in for there, what am I going to get? So I do 5 times 0 plus 2y equals negative 200. Okay, well, that right there is 0. So I have 2y equals negative 200. I'm going to divide by 2 after I drop the t. So y equals negative 200 divided by 2 is negative 100. So that's negative 100. So now I'm going to choose 0 for y. And I'm going to take the same equation, 5x this time, plus 2 times 0 is equal to negative 200. So here I'm left with 5x, because that equals 0, equals negative 200. And now to get x by itself, I'm going to divide by 5, x equals, what is that, negative 40. So I'm going to hear negative 40. So my 2 points now that I have to graph are 0, 100, and negative 40, 0. I'm going to go back here. I have to enter these, 0. It's nice that they have you put these in. That way you don't go through all the work and then find out you're wrong later. So I put this in, and then I can check it, and it lets me know that I'm correct there. Now I'm going to graph it. And again, notice the scale. I have 140 as other numbers. So I'm going to make both scales 10. We'll see if this will fit on. It doesn't fit on my y, so I need to make my y-axis even bigger. Let's go by 20s. Does that get me? Yeah, that gets me 100, 100. So I'm going to graph these 2 points. 0, negative 100. 0, negative 100. Got to check it. It makes me check it. And then I'm going to graph negative 40, 0. And it throws that line on there. I'm going to check it. That is the slope of the line. Negative slope, that represents that equation, which represents that table, and that line. They're all the same thing. Okay, those are essentially the 2 kinds of problems for 312001. You just have to be careful, watch your signs, take your time.